Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for that kind introduction. I am honored to be here with all of you. To be honest, I'm very touched. I mean, Nancy is one of my favorite people on this earth. She is an icon in real estate. She is how real estate should be done. She also is a successful businesswoman, at the same time, a great mom and wife. So you guys could not have picked someone better to represent you, believe me. Today's topic, I was told, is maintain momentum through a strong last quarter. That's kind of fancy for me, so I hope you don't mind. I renamed it. Now it's called Get Off Your Ass and Create the Life You Deserve. You want to know the secret to a great 2025? It's having an amazing first quarter. Very difficult to have a bad year once you've had a great first quarter. And in the same way, if you have a bad first quarter, it's very hard to have a good year. You're playing catch up the whole time. So what's the secret to a really good first quarter? Of course, setting it up in the fourth quarter right now. Now, most agents, they get to Halloween and they start looking over the fence, and they can see holidays and time off. And they say things like, well, I'm going to start taking it easy because the market's slow. The market isn't slow. They are. You need to have a great fourth quarter. You need to do the work that has to be done now so that you're set in the first quarter. And if you're set in the first quarter, you're going to have an amazing 2025. You won't even have to think about it. I promise you. Now, what's funny is on some level, I think you already know this. Just like we know what to do to be successful in real estate, but we don't do it. Why? This business is very simple, not easy. I'm going to suggest there are two primary issues. The first one is fear of taking action. We commonly call this fear rejection. The second one is not knowing exactly which action to take. We call this overwhelm. In the next 15, 20 minutes, Nancy, I'm condensing, I'll speak quickly. I'm going to solve both of these, I promise. And then when we finish, I'm going to leave you with a challenge, a dialogue, and some questions that you should answer for yourself. Now, that's how we will end. How you decide to start once we finish may be one of the most important decisions you're ever going to make. You ready? Let's go. Let's start with fear of rejection. Now, that's not a surprise. If you go back 100,000 years, a million years, whenever it was we were living in caves, the one thing you knew? Never leave the group. Never, ever stand out, get rejected, or be ostracized, because that was a death penalty. If you were by yourself and no longer protected by the group, you weren't looking for food, you were food. So you have 100,000 years of genetics telling you, stay in that group. Don't get too outrageous, and definitely don't get rejected. On top of that, what happened when you were in your most formative years? By the time you were 6, you probably heard 1,000 times, don't talk to strangers. And then you grew up and you did what? You went into real estate, where someone like me is telling you, you need to differentiate. You need to think outside the box. You need to stand out. You need to be you. That's a lot of genetic fear to overcome. So it's not surprising. I want you to write this down. Fear flees from the light of recognition. Fear flees from the light of recognition. That's all it takes. Look, you're not a caveman anymore, yet the program's still running. Next time you feel that rejection coming up, I want you to recognize it, because fear flees from the light of recognition. In fact, I want you to laugh at it. I want you to say, thank you. I know you're just looking out for me. But the only cave I live in now is in my garage. It's got an 80-inch plasma television and beer on tap. I don't need this anymore. Let me back up for a second. I don't think most agents realize what they really do for a living. Help buy and sell homes? Yes. Advise? Absolutely. Consult? Yes. Solve problems? Now that's a really good one, right? The bigger the problem, the more I get paid. Embrace the problems. I think what you do is build millionaires. For those of you in this room right now who've been in the business for a while, think back over time, over the clients you've had. How many of them, through the various homes they've owned, have netted $1 million in equity? You build millionaires. You create generational wealth. You take hands, you grab a hold of someone when they're about to embark on one of the top 3 biggest stressors in a person's life, selling a home and moving. It's mentally exhausting. It's emotionally draining. It's physically painful. What's that sound like? Sounds a lot like a disease, doesn't it? That's where we're going to make the fear really go away, this rejection nonsense. Think of a doctor. Think of a doctor with a heart specialty, right? And they walk up to someone and they say, hey, how are you doing? Are you having any palpitations? Is your heart okay? And the person says, yes, doc, I feel fine. What does the doctor do? Do they hang their head? Do they feel rejected? Well, I'm never going to ask anybody again if they need my help. Of course not. It's insane. They look at that person and they say, fantastic. I'm glad you're not about to go through this very tough time. If you were, I'm here. I can cure the disease. I have what it takes to make you feel better. Well, you're just like that. God forbid you're about to sell your home. It's in the top 3 most stressful things. But if you are, thank God I'm here. And if you're not, let's celebrate together. Being rejected is like a doctor being rejected. There's no such thing. When you meet someone who says, I'm not selling my home, say, thank God. If you know anybody who is, I can help them. Here's some of the symptoms. That their home's starting to feel a little loose around the waist, or it's really tight around the ankles. Do you know anybody going to open houses? That's advanced symptoms. I need to talk to them right now. Listen, there's a technical name to the disease that you cure. It's called listing and sale of residential 1 to 4 unit buildings. Matter of fact, what you do is better than what a doctor does, because not only do you cure the disease, not only do you help them through this, you help them become millionaires. Find me a doctor who does that. Look, I don't care how screwed up this industry is or can be. You be better. Your clients will treat you with the same respect that you give yourself. Okay, now the other issue was lack of action, remember? How many of you know someone who just plain does not know what to do? You don't need to raise a hand. In fact, just look at your neighbor, nod knowingly. Or how many of you know someone who's always busy doing things, they're just not doing the right things? How many of you know that person when you look in the mirror? I want to introduce you to a concept that goes with this. It's called the tedium of success. You might want to write that down, the tedium of success. I learned this after I met Tony Gwynn. For those who don't know, Tony Gwynn was the greatest hitter alive when he was playing. He was the greatest hitter since Ted Williams. I got to meet him at a coaching camp. I coached athletes before I coached business owners. We asked him what he thought made him the best hitter alive, the best hitter in the game. And you know what he said? I hit a ball off a tee 100 times a day, every single day. I hit a ball off a tee 100 times a day. You know how boring that would be? There's no press. There's no fans. There's no coaches. There's no teammates. It's just him and a net and a tee and a big bucket of balls. That's what success looks like. True success is boring. People who don't achieve a success, especially in real estate, it's rarely because they don't have the talent or the skill or even really the desire. They have all of those. Their biggest problem is they get bored. They can't handle the tedium, the boredom. They keep trying new things. In fact, there's a saying in real estate, you will never go broke selling crap to real estate agents. Consistently doing the 1 or 2 things you have to do every single day without fail is the secret. And it's boring. And you have to go anyway. So, fear, we don't need that. You're not being rejected. They just don't need the surgery. Our actions, they need to be consistent. Consistently boring. But what do we actually do? What should those actions be? Good question. For that, we need the law of few things. The law of few things says almost anything in this life can be understood or explained or achieved in no more than 3 steps. I see this law more often than I see Murphy's Law. I was taught this when I was my background is psychology. I was studying family therapy. They said, want to know how to be a great dad? There's only 3 things. You provide. There should be a roof over your children's head. That's 1. 2, you create boundaries. You are in charge of discipline. That's 2. And you must give them love, which children spell T-I-M-E. Do those 3 things, everything else will fall into place. I see it everywhere. When we were at Tony Gwynn's camp, you know what he said was it took to be a great hitter? 3 things. Start balanced, load, keep your hands inside the ball. I don't know if he's ever even heard of a lot of few things, but he knew there were only 3 things. How does that apply to us? There's 3 things you need to do. You need to have a clear vision of your goal and its why. Without the why, this is all meaningless. Have a clear vision of the goal and its why. That's 1. 2, you need to break it down into action steps that are on a calendar. And 3, follow the damn calendar. By the way, while we're talking about calendars, a calendar is something that you put appointments on, places you're going, when you're going. If you need to change them, you change them. There's no importance to it. It's just a place to keep information. I think that creeps into your business a lot. Right? Well, I'm trying to get things done, but then the appraiser calls, and then the inspector calls, and then my client calls, and then the other agent calls. Can you be here at 9? Can you do Tuesday at 10? The only time I can be there is. That's a problem. And the problem is yours. What you need to understand is that the things in your calendar are not just appointments. They are the actions, the consistent actions you need to do to achieve this life that you deserve, to achieve the life your family deserves. Once you understand that, when that inspector calls and says, tomorrow at 10 is the only time I can be there, you'll hear them for what they're really saying. Hey, tomorrow at 10, I need you to stop caring about your family and come help me achieve my goals for my family. Now, I'm a pretty nice guy. That is never, ever going to happen. It will not happen. And you know what? Before you tell me why you have to get the inspection. If you had a big listing appointment tomorrow at 10, you would not cancel it to go meet the inspector. So that's all bullshit. The way to remember this is to rename your calendar. My calendar was called My Organization of Love. That's what I wrote on the top of every page. My Organization of Love. This page, these actions are how I love my family, how I give my family what I want them to have. And nobody's taking me off of that path. Rename your calendar. Okay, the fear isn't real. Now we know what to do. We've got it organized in our expression of love, right? What are the next steps? When we finish here today, what are the next steps? Let's use the law of few things for help. First thing you do is get absolutely clear vision of what it is you want to achieve. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Specific. It has to be clear as day exactly where you're going and why you're going there. That's number 1. Number 2, hire a damn coach. Look, you don't have to hire me. Nancy will tell you I'm not the funnest guy to have as a coach. I'll guarantee you that. But hire a coach. Every business, every athlete, any actors, everybody else in the world gets a coach except in real estate. The dumbest thing I've ever seen. You want to be better, you get a coach who will help you organize all these things into action steps and a calendar of love. And then, number 3, as they say in the Navy SEAL teams, embrace the suck. Find your love for accountability, because we get better when we're held accountable. You don't learn anything when you win. We learn when we lose. You need accountability. And when you have this situation set up, remember this too. This is very important. The universe does not speak English. It doesn't speak Spanish. It doesn't speak German. It doesn't speak Swahili. It speaks action. If you're serious about creating a life that you and your family deserve. Don't talk. Don't make excuses. Take action, immediate action. Because here's the thing, the universe is infinitely patient. It will wait and wait for you to decide by your actions who it is you want to be when you grow up. You, however, are not infinite. Excuse me. Now, I told you I would end today with a challenge, a dialogue, and a set of questions. Before we get to them, I want to remind you once again, what you do is noble. You impact the very fabric of your communities. You create generational wealth. You help people set up for retirement with dignity. God, I have agents I hear coming to me saying, I'm worried about being salesy. Salesy? I'm worried about being too evangelical. You see that guy working at Walmart in the front who's 70 years old? An agent didn't get a hold of him in time and help him set up for retirement. Nothing about this is salesy. All right, here's your challenge. It normally takes a whole business planning workshop. Our workshop's 3 hours long to get here, but I can shortcut you to the end. 9 out of 10 times, what you need to do is 2 conversations a day. That's it. 2 conversations a day. Now, what's a conversation? It's you asking someone intelligent questions to ascertain whether or not they need an appointment. So it could take 10 or 20 contacts to get there. I don't care. I don't measure contacts. I don't want to be a contact king. I want to have appointments. Appointments means you count conversations. Now, they may need a conversation, an appointment and say, I'm not going to work with you. That's all right. It's disappointing, but that is a conversation, right? Because you ask the right questions. So 2 conversations a day. That's your challenge. Here's your dialogue. This, I called it a cheat, so that you can never, ever get through a day without having 2 conversations. This is a cheat called the shortest script in the world. You ready? You might want to write this down. It goes like this. Hi, do you own a home? That's it. That's the script. There's only 2 answers to that question. Do you own a home? Yes, I do. No, I don't. If they say, no, I don't, you say, would you like to? If they say, yes, I do, you say, would you like to own another one? The answer to that question is almost always going to be something financial. Hi, do you own a home? No. Would you like to? Well, yeah, but down payment, my credit, my job. I hear you. I get it. As a matter of fact, almost every single person I've helped get into their first home said exactly what you're saying right now. But what if we could get you into a home? What if you were paying down your own mortgage instead of somebody else's? What if you were getting the tax benefits and the appreciation? Hell, what if you could paint your home any color you want and you don't have to get permission from anybody? That'd be a pretty great thing, wouldn't it? Well, yeah. Got to be worth 10 minutes of your time then, right? I guess so. Great. I'm going to have my lender call you. What's a good number for that? Almost every dialogue I write right now is something where we pursue the dream and then do the 10-minute close. Hi, do you own a home? Yes, I do. Would you like to own another one? Why would I own another one? I couldn't afford that, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's funny. That's what every single person I've helped get into their first investment property said, right up until I handed them the key. Sound familiar? But what if we could get you to investment property? What if somebody else paid all the bills, but you got all the tax write-offs and you got all the appreciation? Hell, what if we were funding your retirement and somebody else was paying for it? That would be a pretty great thing, wouldn't it? Well, yeah. Got to be worth 10 minutes of your time to find out, right? Of course it is. I'm going to have a lender call you. What's a good number for that? In the 4 years I've been teaching that and having people use that, 100% conversion. We've never not gotten a phone number if you're doing it legit and from the heart. Learn that. You do that twice a day, you've had your 2 conversations a day. I guarantee you hit your goals. Now, the last thing I said I would give you is some questions. And I'm going to leave you with those questions now. What if you did have a clear vision of your life in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What if you started work every day at the same time? What if you got up an hour earlier? What if you hired a coach? What if you surrounded yourself with people who are more successful than you? What if you had an organization of love instead of a calendar? What if you embraced the nobility of what you do for others and for their families and acted on an obligation that if you don't get out there and talk to them in a weak moment, they'll end up with a weak agent and it's your fault? What if through your actions, you demanded of the universe a life of personal greatness? What would happen? Wouldn't it be fun to find out?